The sun rose like it always did, soft golden rays spilling gently across rooftops, fields, and quiet city streets. Birds sang, children laughed, and merchants opened their shops. It was a morning like any other, or so it seemed. People went about their daily business, with familiar rhythms. The baker kneaded his dough, the farmer tilled his land. The mother called her children in for breakfast, but no one, not a single soul, knew that this would be the last morning the world would ever see. It was the great judgment morning. The sinner continued in his sin, unaware that mercy's door was already closing. The ungodly man still scoffed at holiness, drowning in his pride and lust. The wicked carried on with cruel hearts and hidden evil. The righteous, clothed in humility, quietly walked in obedience. The fool denied God's existence with bold words and a hardened heart. And the preacher, weary but faithful, kept preaching to ears that refused to hear. No one paused, no one sensed the shift in the heavens. No one knew that the fabric of time was about to be torn in two. This was no ordinary sunrise. This was the final morning, the one that would mark the end of all mornings. A morning when eternity would rise to meet mankind, and time itself would breathe its last breath. The sky held its breath, the earth waited in silence, and the gates of heaven began to open. As everyone moved about busy with their routines, their thoughts, their endless distractions, then a sudden mighty sound split the skies. It was not the sound of any earthly trumpet, it was not metal, or wind, or breath. It was the trumpet of God. Its voice echoed from horizon to horizon, a sound so deep and terrible, and glorious that the earth itself trembled. It was a call, not just to nations or kings, but to every living soul, a summons from the throne of heaven. And then silence. A stillness fell over the world, thick and absolute, as if time itself had been frozen in awe. The skies grew dark. The moon turned a deep, dreadful red as blood, hanging above the world like a warning. Every man, woman, and child stood frozen, eyes lifted to the heavens, faces filled with confusion, fear, and awe. Then the earth groaned. Tombs began to open. Graves cracked wide in cities and villages, forests and deserts. From every corner of the earth, the dead began to rise, not in decay, but in glory, in judgment, in trembling wonder. They lifted from the dust and ascended skyward, drawn to the voice of the trumpet, rising toward the throne of God. The world watched in silence. History had reached its end. Eternity had begun to speak. And then, a wonder appeared in the heavens, a sight so glorious, so terrifying, that hearts failed and knees buckled. The Son of God. He was seen riding on the clouds of heaven, clothed in brilliant light, with countless angels surrounding him in blazing glory. His eyes burned like fire, and on his head were many crowns. Every eye saw him, every nation, every tribe, every soul, whether living or risen from the dead. With a voice like rushing waters and rolling thunder, he proclaimed, "That time shall be no more." And just like that, time died. No clocks ticked, no hearts beat. Eternity had begun. Then, in the midst of the heavens, a great white throne appeared, radiant, holy, and dreadful in its perfection. From it shone a light that pierced every soul to its core, and all were gathered before it. The kings and the beggars, the mighty and the forgotten, the learned and the unlearned, the old and the young, every generation, every people, every language. They stood in silence, shoulder to shoulder, small and great alike, as the book of life was opened, and the judge of all the earth prepared to speak. There was no hiding, no excuses, no more time. Only truth, only justice, only the final verdict of the one who sees all. Then, the books were opened, ancient, vast, and eternal, books that held the record of every thought, every word, every deed ever done under the sun. First came the book of death, thick with the weight of rebellion, pride, and secret sins. Then another book was opened, glowing with holy light, the book of life, the Lamb's book, where only the names of the redeemed were written. And the dead were judged, one by one, soul by soul. They stood before the throne, every life was laid bare. Every hidden motive, every whispered lie, every act of love, every moment of mercy, all revealed with perfect clarity. There were no mistakes, no omissions, no defenses. The judge, righteous and true, read from the books, and the heavens held their breath. And then came the final, dreadful moment, the search for names. The book of life was examined. Angels turned its pages with solemn hands. But if a name was not found written within its sacred leaves, then that soul, though weeping, though pleading, was cast into the lake of fire, a place of final separation, where light and hope are no more, not out of cruelty, but out of perfect justice. For the offer of salvation had been made, the gift of grace had been extended, but it had been rejected, and now eternity rendered its verdict.